I want to put it on this podcast, my personal apology to the gay community for we were a welcoming church.
Sure.
And we felt that we were doing what God had called us to do. But I think we were wrong. You know, good fruit comes from good trees. You don't get bad fruit off good trees. And if you apply that to what the theology has been around the gay community, it's bad fruit.
Queerfully Made Podcast acknowledges and recognises the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders as Australia's first people and the traditional owners and custodians of the land on which we create and share. It is an honour to share stories through this podcast on the lands of the Wurundjeri Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nations, a culture rich with tens of thousands of years of storytelling. We pay our respects to their elders past and present. We extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples listening to this podcast.
Queerfully made. Ooh yeah. Queerfully made. God, hey. Queerfully made. Come on now. Queerfully made.
Well, welcome to the Queerfully Made Podcast. We're back.
We're back.
In the studio, and we've got some amazing guests on the podcast today who I'm really excited to have them share their story and their journey of, as a church, what it means to be affirming and the journey it's taken to get there. So thanks so much, Marcy and Beth, for jumping on from Gateway Church.
Thank you. We are so honoured to be here.
Thanks for having us.
When we were talking about starting the podcast, we envisioned all the types of guests that would be willing to come on, and never did I think one of the first guests we would interview would be pastors of a current church. I thought that would be way down the track.
Woohoo!
Yeah, well, that's
So proud.
Definitely season 2 on our vision board, and then you guys just came right in, and it's just worked out so well. So we're so glad you're here.
So tell us a little bit about Gateway Church. Where is it?
Okay, Gateway
How long's it been around?
is in Seaford. It has been around for 40 years. It's got a 40-year anniversary next year.
Wow.
We've always been a bit of a crazy church, but a classical evangelical church. We were Baptists. We're now sort of in a small movement called A2A. Beth is my daughter.
Oh, hey.
Grew up in the church, and now what do you do in the church, Beth? What do you do?
I have a marketing PR background.
Yes.
That's my jam. Yeah. And then when I came on board the pastoral team, it was a little bit of all-rounder, a bit of worship, a bit of preaching, but also communications.
It's always how
let's
it starts.
take this church out of the 90s. Before 90s was cool, you know? Yeah.
But we've always had quite an incarnational theology, so we believe that God is everywhere. So we've got a theatre company, we've got a big sports ministry as well. So
we had a cafe. At one
we
point.
did have a cafe. So it's all about doing as much as we can to get our people out into the community and touching people where they are.
I love that.
We believe in Jesus.
Yeah.
We do.
Well, he was a real guy.
Right.
I always find it funny when I've got friends who didn't grow up in the church and they say, how can you believe in Jesus? I'm like, history believes in Jesus.
Very true. Yeah.
He was a real person, whether you like to admit it or not.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how long have you been in the church for? How long have you...
Well, Rick and I were part of the original planting group, so 40 years.
Wow.
We always say we're totally lacking in imagination because we're still in exactly the same place. But
I think
amazing.
You were definitely doing something right. I remember when we planted Fresh Church, you were one of the first churches we went out and snuck in. We had a row. You were doing the At the Movies series. You spoke.
Oh, wow.
Marcy.
Yeah.
And so we came to check it out because we're like, this is something.
And steal ideas.
Yeah, steal ideas. But this is a church that we like what they're doing.
Yeah,
and
awesome. That's lovely.
And I still love what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about the journey. You're an affirming church now, which is, for those who are listening that don't know what that means, there's different stages to churches. There's the churches that you're not allowed to be a part of at all if you're a part of the LGBT community. If you walk in, they're going to ask you to leave. Then there's the churches that are comfortable with you being there, sitting in their pews.
You're welcome,
you can tithe and give,
Yep.
but that's sort of where it stops. So they're welcoming.
Come as you are, don't stay as you are.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
Yeah.
We hope to change you eventually.
Yeah.
And then there's the affirming churches, which is what you guys are. Tell us what that means for you guys.
Well, for us, we believe that your discipleship is not determined by your sexuality, but it's who you are in Christ, which is, we believe, a beloved child of God.
Yeah. Come on.
So when it comes to things like leadership or ministry, anything is open to anyone at our church.
Yeah.
And of course, we'd be looking at the leadership giftings and the fruit of the Spirit that comes out of that person, which has got nothing to do with someone's sexuality, we believe.
Yeah.
So obviously, we're still a church that believes in the goodness of our godly sexuality.
Yeah.
That it's not. Some people think, if you're affirming church, that means you affirm that you can do whatever you like with this sexuality. You can be promiscuous. You can do, and that's not where we are. We still believe in
Stewarding that well.
in stewarding our bodies and our sexuality well.
Yeah.
But
Whether you like a boy who likes a boy, a girl
Absolutely.
who likes a girl, that's
Absolutely.
not part of the equation. You are
yeah.
welcome to attend, but more so than that, be involved. and
Absolutely.
Be a life of
Well, we
part of
value
the
your
life.
contribution.
Sure.
If the image of God is in you, it's like we all come together and show different facets of who the image of God is. We value your representation and what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
And your gifts. And so that's a big distinction, because some of the welcoming churches, like you said, you get as far as sitting in church, tithing, but then involvement in terms of serving, leadership,
Yeah.
positions at the church.
Yeah.
There would be none of those for a welcoming church, whereas affirming, you would be open to.
Yeah, and it's very important, Ben. I want to put it on this podcast. My personal apology to the gay community for we were a welcoming church,
Sure.
and we felt that we were doing what God had called us to do, but I think we were wrong, and I want to apologise on behalf of myself and my husband personally and the other leadership. And you say there's been a big change for us.
Yeah, sure.
Probably started about 10 years ago. Just this unsettled spirit. I suppose because we had gay people in our lives, and I'm reading some of what we call the slam verses in the Bible. I'm looking at these people and I'm seeing the fruit coming out of their lives. I'm saying there is a mismatch here. There is something that's not clicking for me.
But can I say, we've never been the style of church anyway to lead from the platform with hard turn or burn sin.
Yes.
So it's very easy for us to sit in that welcoming space, but there still be confusion around it. We weren't preaching on it. It was safe
Yeah.
for us to
Yeah.
stay not really talking about
Yeah.
it.
Yes.
But in practice,
Yeah.
when you get to the bottom of it, it would still match a very welcoming kind of.
But for me personally, the crisis came when we have a theatre company. We work with teenagers, and we had this great young man that was part of our theatre company. He actually joined the church, joined the youth group. When he got to the end of year 12, he was going into the young adults, and he said, "I'd love to become a youth leader." And of course, we knew he was gay. And so Rick and I were given the task of having the talk, which was
You were given the task.
Lucky you.
inviting him over for a lovely dinner at the senior pastor's house and saying, we love you, and we want you to be part of this church, but if you want to be in leadership in any capacity, you can't have a boyfriend. You just have to stay as a celibate person, a single person.
I had many of those convos.
Yeah. And anyway, he thanked us and he left that night, and we never saw him again. And 2 years later, a friend of mine said, there's a podcast you need to listen to. And it was a podcast. Yeah. It was a podcast done by some guys in our area who were doing like mental health stuff.
Yep.
They'd had this young man on as a guest, and he had spoken about the fact, about the issues with him coming out and saying that he'd been part of a church and it was a great church and he loved it and he'd found friends and sense of belonging. And then the senior pastor and his wife had that talk, and he said, I left that night and I spent 2 years in therapy. And that just broke me. And I found myself on my knees in repentance saying, God, you've got to show me a better way, because this is not the way of love.
Fruit of this is not good.
The fruit is not good. So...
what a moment.
Oh, it was... I couldn't get over his grace, because he could have named us,
Sure.
shamed us, and he didn't. He was so gracious.
So much love back from him
Yeah.
and in his words.
Anyway, I took him out for lunch and just apologised him profusely and
Oh, did you
just
reconnect?
oh yeah.
Yeah, wow.
It took him a while to say yes. He had to check with his therapist if he was strong enough.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I was just able to say that I was on a journey and we were going to do better. And I would pray that he would maybe forgive me, but forgive the church.
Yeah.
Once again, he was very gracious. He hasn't. I don't think he's forgiven the church, but I still pray that maybe he will. But anyway, that set me on a task of study, because Rick and I always felt we felt we needed to do something, but if it didn't work with Scripture, I still believe in, like, the Bible is the Word of God, but I'm not fundamental in the way that I look at the Scripture.
That's why I stayed in the closet and stayed straight pretty much my whole life, was because I valued the Word and its place in my life.
Yeah.
And wanted to hold to that interpretation because I was too scared to look into it more.
Well, we were kind of handed a version of, no, we've thought that through already, and this is why you don't look. It's been looked at. Don't worry.
Yeah.
It's kind of, oh no, it doesn't. You can't compare it to slavery. You can't. No.
You can't compare it to women in ministry.
Yeah. And so the fact that, and to be fair, I grew up in the senior pastor's home. They were, I was a pastor's
You've turned
kid.
out so well for a pastor's kid.
Didn't she just?
Actually, you've done pretty well with your kids.
It's all about the illusion.
There's another podcast after this one.
Yeah.
Confessions of a PK.
Confessions of a PK would be a great podcast.
It would be. I'm sure there is one.
And there
If
is
not,
Are you a PK?
No.
Are you a PK?
No.
no, I've got a son.
Okay, there you go. We can do it. But I grew up in this home, but I grew up in a space. As parents, you were very open to the grey and questioning and things like that. But even as open as I felt our home was about these things, there was still that sense of, if anyone's changed their mind about this topic, they're not right, because you had the answer for why people have gone there, they've worked this out already.
They've
and
fallen
we followed
away.
suit.
Hey,
or
can
they've-
I remember a conversation. This is before, because Beth was one of the reasons.
The worry in your eyes
No,
right now.
no,
Sharing here, mother.
no. It was a good one. One of the reasons why Rick and I started on this journey was because of you, because you're part of the next generation, and it's not going to be an issue for you. You just automatically have this sense of welcome and openness. But I remember we were talking about this, and I was saying, well, the scriptures are pretty clear, Beth, and blah, blah, blah. And you looked at me and you said, because Beth's got 2 little boys, and she said, Mum, if one of my boys grew up and we found that they were gay, wouldn't you want to know that they could find a lifelong partner, someone to spend their life with? And
Because the version that we were
Yes.
dancing around where being gay is not the sin, it's the acts or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
Didn't sit well with me from that perspective of what we know about sociology and everything that we know now. Surely God's love is better and bigger than we'd hoped.
Yeah.
So it didn't sit well with me that we were asking people to leave part of who they were behind.
Especially when one of the first things God said when he created Adam and Eve and in the Genesis fable is this idea that it's not good for man to be alone. But then
Absolutely.
we're forcing a whole community of people to be alone.
Yeah.
And I didn't like the duality of even the emphasis on sex and how important it is for a married couple. But then when it came to someone being homosexual,
Oh, yeah.
sex isn't everything.
No.
Yes.
You know, it doesn't
Hang on a second. Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a
Rule for one,
duality
Yeah.
there.
for the other.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I ended up doing like 6 months of intense study on the theology of this, and I realised that the church, as far as interpreting the Bible, it's so broad, you know, in the ways that we interpret, the lenses that we bring to it, the way that we ignore historical context in some ways, but we're right on it in others. And here I was as a female pastor in a church with, I didn't feel any glass ceiling on me and was so grateful for that.
Yeah.
Why are we interpreting the scriptures about women in ministry very much in their cultural context and yet not doing this for the question of queer people?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then we found out there were very storied scholars like Richard Hay, David Gushee, Walter Brueggelmann, these guys who were just helping me to read the Bible, I think, in a more conservative way, as in more accurate, I believe.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So I don't think I've gone loopy and liberal. I think I'm the exact opposite.
Yeah.
I want to read the Bible the way
You're
it
more
should
conservative because you're taking the scripture
I'm taking
seriously.
the time and taking
You're
the scripture
saying-
seriously.
You're actually saying we know what the Bible says, but what could it possibly mean?
What does it mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's important.
And that's such an important part of the journey, yeah. Because I think, and I've, come across very few teachers that I've been able to really teach me like an accurate way to read the Bible. I mean, one teacher that has a historian, a theologian himself, and a primary school teacher that helped put his sermons together.
Wow.
That's great.
Because he needs the historical context from the historian, he needs the theologian.
Yeah.
But then when the three of them get together and geek it all out, you need the primary school teacher to go,
Break it
guys,
down.
this is not going to
Yeah.
make sense.
This
or
is how it
resonate
makes
with
sense
us.
to a
Yeah.
4-year-old.
Yeah, exactly. So I just love that. And I mean, some of the teachings that he's done on the way that the Bible was written in the Old Testament versus the New, the cultural context of the day. It completely changed the meaning and the impact that it had on my life and my faith.
Walter Brueggelmann said, the gospel is not the same as the Bible. When he's saying is the essence of why Jesus came and his message to us is the gospel.
Sure.
But there's so much stuff in the Bible which is not the same as the gospel.
Yeah.
No.
You know.
Humanity working their relationship with the divine.
Yeah. So that's one of my passions, is just trying to help people to just hold a lot of the scriptures with these open hands. Like if you've ever done any study on the way the Jews read their Bible, what do they say? If you have 3 Jewish scholars in a room, you'll have 5 opinions.
Yes.
It's something like that.
Yeah.
But it's just this wrestling.
Because it's the
and-
living word, isn't it? That's what I've known it as my whole Christian life is that it's a living, breathing word of God. And that's why we have denominations and the vast variety of people interpreting it differently.
Yeah.
I had someone when I first came out say, but Paul says, and I looked at them and I said, are you in the habit of opening other people's mail and reading it?
Yeah.
Jesus had nothing to say about who I am. Yeah, Paul might have, but that was a
Yeah.
letter written to someone else, not to you.
Yeah.
What are you doing opening the Corinth's letter?
Yeah.
What are you doing reading Jude's letter?
I mean, I laugh at myself too, thinking about that 13-year-old girl that had all the pastel highlighters and her Bible
Same.
so heavy. Yeah. So good. But
And the
just,
little, you'd mark them all the little sticky
and all
things
the
that came out of
margins
it,
and the little sticky
margins.
tag. Yes. And I love that Christianity is accessible and that a 13-year-old girl can feel like she can connect with God through the scripture. But surely there has to be a level of humility with this ancient document that perhaps a 13-year-old girl from Melbourne, Victoria doesn't understand the nuance and the complexity of a civilization from thousands of years ago. And
Perhaps a 60-year-old person doesn't either,
and
right?
that's it. And I love that we have access and the ability to go to the Word and, wrestle it. But I think I just had to come to that point of realisation that there is so much more that I do not know, and to hold it loosely.
Yeah.
And to ask more questions.
Yeah.
So for me, I found that the whole concept of good fruit, good fruit comes from good trees. You don't get bad fruit off good trees. That is I think a firm scriptural principle.
Mm-hmm.
And if you apply that to what the theology has been around the gay community, it's bad fruit.
Yeah.
It's bad fruit, and we've got to do better.
And the boy that was in your church, like his story is one of many.
Yeah.
And it's sad to say it's not even the worst. Like, thankful that he's still with us, right? Like, 'cause there are so many who couldn't comprehend the world that we now know and that he knows, that no, you can have both and.
Yeah.
And so they saw no alternative but to unalive themselves and take themselves out of the picture.
Yeah.
We had a guy who loved him. He was in our church plant and I'd known that he was gay his whole life. He grew up in a church down the road from us who he was removed from leadership when he entered into his first gay relationship. Then he moved overseas for a while, came back to Australia, started getting involved in our church plant, and had told me when he first started, I'm not acting out on my sexuality anymore. I was like, oh, fantastic.
Healed.
Yes, yeah, great. He said, I'm gay, but I'm just not going to act out on that. So he did our 4-week course, got involved pretty quickly, but struggled so much, like emotionally, with the weight of carrying this sexuality and what we've talked about, that dual life and stuff like that. So he found alcohol as his way of coping. And I remember one morning he was rostered onto keyboard and he rocked up and he smelled like whiskey. And everyone was like, oh, he can't play keys and does it smell like that? And I was like, well,
Every musician you've ever seen at a gig is probably
how am I going to do the altar call without him? Think about the moment. No, I was like, no, I don't want to tell him he can't. I think he needs to be here right now.
Yeah.
It was the best he'd ever played keys.
He was out of his head.
Says every musician ever.
It was the best. And I remember all of us were like, maybe you should drink whiskey.
In fact, we all started.
This is the secret.
Yeah. The spirits flowed.
Spirit was flowing.
Fast forward, it was about, I'd started then, this was early days. He'd moved to a rehab centre because it just got out of control, moved down away from where we and our church was. The story of the lesbian couple that started coming to our church, which triggered me doing what you did with the theology. They started coming after he was there. So I then started looking into all of this theology and stuff. And when I landed at the same point you've landed at, it was about 3 months before I'd come out and announced it and stepped away from the church. But in that same 2-month period, he unalived himself.
Yeah.
And I just remember like thinking in that moment, I've come too late to the party here. Like all these conversations that I had with him around how you're doing the right thing, and then like there was all this weight, and so that weight of knowing this bad fruit here, this tree is not producing the right fruit, like it's not doing well by people. Yeah, I can understand that weight.
I feel like there's bad fruit and there's just not being honest about. Like, I feel like part of the reason we were in that holding period of not really moving on this for so long is we don't really know we don't have any gay people in our community.
Well, they're too scared to tell you.
Yeah.
Well,
You did.
I'm like, we do. They're either not staying or they're not saying. And I think especially when you have a theatre company attached to your church, we had queer people.
They were there.
Yes.
Oh, I wish you guys were closer to me. I would have loved it.
You're auditioning for our next show.
We're coming, by the way. We're coming
Yes,
down.
wanna come.
To church.
We would love that.
Come
We
to
would
the
love
theatre
that.
for sure.
But it was one thing to go through this personally, and I was really proud of my husband because I don't know. I think sometimes it takes longer for guys to come on this journey. I don't know what it is, but
It's that masculinity, I think.
maybe
It's
I was
age-old.
I was so proud
So
of him.
ingrained.
I just watched God just break both of our hearts, you know.
Yeah.
And but then there's the question of your church, you know, and that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah. How did that... So God broke your heart and everything happened with you going on this journey of theology. Now Rick's joined you on that journey.
Can I just say that, like, that got me when you said that. Like, you allowed your heart to be broken. Like, I think that's a big... Because there'll be many people out there, leaders and pastors that aren't willing to go on that journey.
No.
You allowed God to break your heart on this
Yeah.
particular...
You know, it's
topic.
interesting, and people would say, "Oh, you've obviously got a gay child." I said, "No, my kids are straight. We have gay people in our world, but not really, really close."
Sure.
And you know, I have met people in our church who have gay children or gay people in their world, and they're the hardest ones to move.
Yeah.
Right.
It's sort of one way or the other.
Yeah, we had some people leave because they did have someone in their family that was queer and they'd already gone through all this and they've
stopped
already
it.
decided.
Yeah.
If anyone would want to change their minds, it's us, but we haven't. So,
And it's harder
Yeah.
to have
Yeah.
put your foot down for so long
Yeah.
and your child has seen you do that.
Yeah.
To then have to backtrack and say I
Yeah.
was wrong to your child, it could...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gee, it's just a lesson to all of us. The older we get, to be more humble, more prepared to admit that we're wrong, to hold our certainties loosely. You know, my bucket of certainties is pretty small.
Yeah.
You know, I do believe Jesus Christ, Son of God, you know, died for our sins, raised bodily. That's about it.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
I think we get our knickers in a knot in the church so much about issues of doctrine that we just should hold all these things so much more loosely, but hold the love and an open welcome of Jesus. Hold that so hard and never let it go.
Yeah.
That's my bottom line.
So then the decision for
For the
the
church?
church.
we were in COVID at the time.
Oh.
In the sense that we started, I think you wanted to start the leadership in discussions around the topic. And we were doing a form of study that was actually taking us down a different... That person that led that discussion has landed in a different place.
Yeah.
So it sounded wrapped in grace, but wouldn't go as far as where we are now, in the sense that it's not a sin to be gay, but you can't enact on it.
Yes.
So we were doing this study on Zooms throughout COVID as a leadership team, and the beauty about having parents that are open and comfortable with grey, they're comfortable at talking about things that maybe show a different perspective to them. So that Marcy and Rick weren't saying this is where we stand, but it started the conversation. And I remember sitting in my house on this Zoom and just listening to this study, and I texted Mum saying, if this is the direction we're going in, I don't think I can be a pastor.
Oh, what the guy was, the other person was
so
saying.
it very much sounded wrapped in grace, and for some fundamental Christians, this would be a leap in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
But still very much, and like all the testimonies of queer people that were on board this perspective as well, and my soul was just curling up. And I just remember texting Mum saying, if this is the direction that we're going in, I don't think I can be a pastor on this team with integrity. I get emotional when I talk about it because I get a message shot back from Mum saying, me too. And I didn't realise. Us two rebels in the pastoral team. Yeah. I didn't realise that we were both having that same tension.
Wow.
And so that was the beginning of conversations with our leadership team. But then we had to really.
Yeah. Well,
them through it.
I mean, it's a miracle when I hear the stories of what's happened in other churches. But we had one of the many books that we've read. Probably David Gushie's book, Changing Our Minds, was the first one we gave our leadership team, and we all read it. And, you know, it wasn't all roses, you know. Some of them struggled with it and some of them probably still do. But I would say that our elders, our board and our staff are all on board, you know.
Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
Which is massive, I realise. Now, that didn't apply to everyone in the church. We started to have some meetings where we were talking about where we as a leadership were. We made it very clear to our people that we didn't expect everyone to be on the same page.
How long did the process of taking the leadership, like the elders and stuff, through that
Probably,
theology stuff?
it's probably 12 months. I'd say.
And
Wanted
for
to create
maybe
space.
churches out there that are looking at doing this sort of process, what did you take them through? Was there a course? Was there apart from the book by David Gushie?
There's another book called Love Means Love by David Roncorn. He's a British guy, so you get a sort of a different flavour. But there is also the Reformation Project have it's a video, I think it's like a 4 sessions video going through the scriptural stuff, and it's quite rigorous. Yeah. Like we had about 50 people go through it that were interested, came along. And it was, I warned them, look, this is about, you know, second year uni level. So they've done another one. I wonder what my feedback to them was maybe to pull back the...
Get a primary school teacher on your team.
Exactly, just to pull it back a bit.
Yeah.
But I found it fascinating,
me
really.
too.
You did too, didn't you?
So we had to start with the leadership team giving that space, and when we were all like, this is the direction we're heading in, we then went to our, like the core members of
leaders,
our community.
life group leaders.
People that were serving, involved,
Next year.
and had multiple sessions and, you know, open the floor for discussion. And then from there, we open it up to the whole church to join in a deep dive into the theology of how we got to where we were with these videos. So that was open to anyone.
So that next tier of life group leaders and that kind of core leadership team, what was the response, reaction?
Oh, so varied.
I can only imagine.
We had some people beautifully, because you never know where, you know, if you're not in the habit of making this a conversation. And I think, because you have some people responding a way that you don't expect, and maybe they leave. But then I say to myself, hang on, it's on us to create the culture that we want.
Yep.
So that's also on me that we haven't, that we've created a culture where they're surprised by this move too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we had some people say, you know what, they stood up and they said, Marcy, we came to this church 20 years ago because you were inclusive. Women preached. The music that you would sing, you've always had that edge. Why would we not follow you now?
Wow.
And that was just so beautiful. And the kids are involved in the church. And then, we have other people that came in for lots of chats.
Yeah, look,
questions.
okay, the extremes.
Let's get real.
People saying, I'm not sure about this, but we've trusted you for 40 years.
Yep.
Why, as Beth said, why will we stop now? I love some of our older people who had had a different theology all of their life, but were prepared to do the hard work.
Yeah.
And some of them are still not sure, but we love you, Rick and Marcy, so we're here. The other extreme, accusing us of heresy as they walk out the door.
Wow.
Some people who,
Your wolf in sheep's clothing.
yeah. Some people say, this is. I knew you didn't believe in 6 days of creation, a literal 6 days of creation, and I could cope with that, but this is the last straw.
Oh,
So it's like you realise there's some people who are quite fundamental, and that's, bless them, that's okay.
I always loved that our community was filled with people
With
with
different
points of view.
ideas.
and that's the way it should
Yeah.
be, right?
And we kept. It's interesting. What I found fascinating is that for people who are prepared to sit in this community of complexity, they can't cope with this one. This one was like too far. And we just had to bless people and say, we love you and we're so sorry. But we obviously try and make sure we want to hear that they've gone somewhere else. A lot of our people that we loved have gone to another local church that we love, and we believe they've got in and they're contributing to that community. So we're thrilled about that. We wish they'd stayed with us on the journey, but that wasn't for them.
The hardest one for me to hear was when hearing your parents be pillars in the faith community for 40 years, serving the same community.
Yeah.
And then this is something that triggers someone to call them spiritually abusive. And I'm like, to you...
This is quite the opposite of
to
spiritual
co-opt that
abuse. Let me tell you
language.
about spiritual abuse.
Yeah.
This is it, right?
Yeah.
It was like the ability, and I'd been on this journey for a while anyway, of seeing how Christians have seen themselves as the victim a lot.
Yeah.
And the ability for us to turn it that we're the marginalised victims here is uncanny.
Yeah.
And
Martyrs.
in terms of then, so not just for that period, but right up to now, like what percentage of your church?
We
do you
would have
think-
been a church. We were a church. I mean, when you've been in a church for 40 years, you've had the joys of the ups and the downs.
Sure.
Yeah.
And we've had, we've been bigger than we are now. We've been smaller than we are now.
Yeah.
And you do learn to just hang on for dear life and trust God, because it's His church. But we were, after COVID, of course, COVID knocked us. We were probably getting up back around 500, and we would have lost over 100 people, probably. So
About 20%.
yeah, it's golly, it's been financially disastrous.
And can I
To be
say,
honest.
we were struggling financially before you pulled the trigger on making this a lot more public.
Yeah.
So the fact, I was just so proud that, you weren't towing a line because of the politics or because of the cost.
Yeah.
That even when that was tough, we went down. And I remember you and Dad saying that you were willing to die on this hill. Like, there's no point a church surviving if it's not for what you really believe in anyway.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I remember when I came out, I had pastors who said, I know in 10, 15 years' time, this space is going to look different for people like you, Aaron. These are pastors who are friends of mine.
Yeah.
And I said, so you obviously don't think it's wrong. You as a person, as a pastor.
Yeah.
And I'd ask them, like, well, what's going to take it for you to change that in your church, or for you to lead that change? And there's too much on the line.
Yeah.
Well, I think
They had
too-
conference tickets to sell and books to sell and
Yeah.
CDs to sell, right?
Yeah.
But also they're answerable to boards and elders.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
whilst they might be, of the next generation,
Yeah.
or even not, like any generation of that belief, it's then convincing
Yeah.
or having the conversation even with a board that or elders that might be.
Well, if
very
our
stuck in
board, if
another
our
way.
board and elders and our, our staff hadn't come with us, it would have been a very different story. We would have, basically, I suppose, we would have stepped down.
Yeah.
But, we felt, because Rick and I have been doing this for 40 years, we felt if we haven't got enough trust, in our pocket from people
Social cred or whatever you call it.
The trust cred, to at least start to make this difference. What hope have the next generation got to move this? So, if we wanted to, you see your final years in ministry as, you can just glow with the legacy that you're leaving and go out. If we wanted that, we wouldn't have done this.
No.
There's people that do talk about how that church must just be too concerned about culture, being swayed by culture.
Golly.
But when you're on the inside, the biggest pull and
Is the
current culture
church
is
culture.
the evangelical
Yeah.
pressure. If we wanted it to be easy, we would have just towed that same line. The hardest thing was moving against the grain and saying, no, we believe there's a better way. Yeah.
Well, it split our little denomination that we're in, which was only about 40 churches, many of them in Queensland. It split that because a whole group of churches, Rick and I were part of or still are part of the leadership team of that denomination, and even though we weren't asking the denomination to change, like in our denomination, we still can't marry same-sex people legally.
Okay. Yes.
And we said, look, we're happy to sit in this place within our own church. We can do what we like.
Yes.
But we're not asking you to change. All these churches just looked at the mere fact that Rick and I, hadn't even decided then. We were just tossing around.
You're still on the journey.
We're still on the journey.
Just shared a personal journey.
They can't even be part of it. I've never felt, and this is why I want to apologise so much to the gay community, because the way we were othered is so small compared to what that community have been through for generations. And we just felt, it's almost as if God said, let me give you a little bit of the pain, just a little bit of the pain that has been felt by your brothers and sisters. So we thought, okay, we can take that. We can take that.
But you still feel to be a part of that denomination?
Well, we do, because our beautiful we're part of the A2A denomination, and Tim and Sharon O'Neill head that up. And Tim, he's not where we are, but he's so open-minded and he loves us. We did a conference just after this split happened, and he had a conversation with me and another pastor within our movement, and we disagree on this.
Yeah.
But he had us sitting on stage and said, "Why are you two in the same denomination?" And we were able to look at each other and say, "We love each other. We don't agree on this piece of theology, but we all love Jesus, and we just want to connect with people, and we're on mission together."
And removing yourself from a denomination is not the answer.
No.
No. It's just going to make yourself siloed so much more. It's never going to take other people on the journey with you.
Yeah.
That's been our heart, is to and especially Rick's heart he wanted to take as many people along with him as he could.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, and you can concentrate on the negatives, but I've just seen a lot of the beauty of the church, with its willingness to allow us to explore this, and allow us to challenge them, and they've challenged us, and I never want to stop learning, and growing and listening. I think God is always doing a new thing, and I think this is part of the new thing He's doing. The church, multi-generational, multi-ethnic, different expressions of our sexuality. I mean, to me, this is just our Creator God at His best. Yeah.
So what does church look like now? How many years are we in?
And look,
Are we just 12 months in? Not
12
even?
months.
oh,
Wow.
maybe a bit longer. Look, I don't think it's like if someone came to Gateway now, they wouldn't say it's any different than what it was.
You've been able to keep the same
yeah,
church.
absolutely.
Which
I
is-
mean, the only small difference would be like one of the key interns we've had for the last couple of years is a young gay guy who and he was telling me youth leader. He
Love
said the other day I was asking him what he wanted to do, and he said, "Look, I'm going into chaplaincy, but ultimately I'd love to be a pastor." And I said to Rick, "Oh, how beautiful to be able to say, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Well, that's possible.
you,
here.
that's
Yeah.
possible,
You're
you know."
home.
That for you.
You're
Yeah.
safe here. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably the biggest change.
I think it'd be a little bit naive to think that theology doesn't alter practice, though. So I think because, bad theology is damaging. So I think from the outsider, stylistically, we are who we are. We're still the same church. But if you were to plant yourself and want to serve, and you'll no longer have that awkward silence around you.
You don't have to come hiding.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just hope that they would just feel that they have complete freedom to serve at whatever capacity that.
And I would say, in the way that we talk about the Bible, this is the way we've always talked about it, but I think people's ears are open to it. It's very much, this is open to interpretation. Let me tell you some of the scholars I've been reading, and this is where this is what I'm thinking at the moment, but you do your own study. You work it out, because there's so many different ways that this could be looked at, not bang, this is the way you have to see something.
Yeah.
How will gay people out in the community, or anyone on any of the letters, how will they know that they are welcomed at Gateway?
I think some of it's already been a bit of word of mouth, but we've got a statement on our website. I was talking the other day about a documentary called Clarity. Clarity is kindness. So part of the problem is families rock up at these come-as-you-are places, and then as they get involved, they realise, oh, no, we can't. This isn't safe for us here. So we want it to be very clear from the moment they get on our website that this is a safe space for them.
Great.
So we've got a statement on our website that...
And there is remember we've that list, that website list,
there's a few, databases that you can apply for that we've been added to.
Yeah.
You can search locally a church in your area.
Great.
We've had a few emails come through from the community. One that once again broke my heart last week was she'd said something like, I'm looking for an affirming church, but I just want to know if you have any openly gay people in your church, because I'm afraid that churches say they're welcoming, but they just get us in order to condemn us.
And the other thing about those lists of churches, because I remember you and I were exploring, I was like, I'd love to have a list. And then been talking with other people, and they say, well, those lists get outdated if a leadership changes.
Yes.
True.
Because theology happens, like in a lot of churches, the leadership is the theologian.
Yeah.
So it's hard to maintain a list that's accurate.
This is true.
It really does come down to that word of mouth and people going, you know what, I went here, I was safe here.
Yeah.
And I think as time goes on and you guys continue to grow in that space, I think you'll only naturally have people on staff that are, and pastors who are potentially, and then
people
obviously
in our
then
worship
that's
team
going to be
currently
safe.
that said that they left church when they were younger and they haven't felt as loved and seen as when they've walked into Gateway and they're singing in our team and they're able to express their giftings in the house of God.
When I first came out, I was determined to still keep going to church, and I attended some of those. I was going to be the gay Christian, champion this, and went to some of those churches that are really rainbow washed, they've taken it to the other extreme, and I felt uncomfortable. Like
Yeah.
the words of the songs were changed to be a lot more queer, and it served a purpose for some of those people, and it was.
I was going to say that's
they
needed.
needed that safe
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
For me, it was like I feel uncomfortable here. I want to be in a vibrant community of more than just people who are me, exactly like me.
We are so much more than our sexuality.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think that just highlights the diversity within the queer community, and they've just been pigeonholed as one thing sometimes.
Yeah.
But it's so important that we realise that there are many expressions. I think that's important for us moving forward too, is representation.
Yeah.
It's one thing, so easy to be talking about and this topic and making this a theological discussion and forget that, you know, we need to hear the voices of our queer friends.
Yeah.
They need to be elevated. There needs to be more diversity from I think that's across the board, single people. Like
And also, we're still there to challenge all of us to walk in the steps of Jesus,
Absolutely.
regardless. You know, none of us get a pass to just say we believe in Jesus and then do whatever the heck we like with our lives. You know, we're meant to be walking, to be becoming more like Him. And that's what we want to challenge people. When you say, come as you are, but don't stay that way.
No, I know.
I know. But I still believe that. Because when I don't...
But not about sexuality.
Exactly.
About
It's
your
like
heart,
your posture, your compassion, you know,
your love,
your humility, your patience,
The
all
fruit.
the fruits of the Spirit.
Don't be producing bad fruit.
No.
Don't come producing bad fruit and stay producing bad fruit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think you kind of just answered my next question, which was around, we've had, you know, people reach out saying, I feel like I'm at a crossroads where I have to choose. It's either faith in God or some are in a same-sex relationship right now, and they feel like they have to choose between one or the other.
Yeah.
What would you say to those people that are?
Oh well, obviously, I don't think there's any barrier from someone who's same-sex attracted or in a relationship to having faith in God. I would love them to come be part of the community. But I'd say the same thing I say to our straight young people. If you love each other, let's work towards getting you married. I still think that there's a reason God created marriage, and I think there's something about public commitment and you know, monogamy within a relationship. I think that applies across the board. So, I mean, I'm a mum and a grandma, so I am still a bit conservative. But I'd love to encourage them to decide if this is your person. Let's shout it from the rooftops and do that in a loving community, and let's get God's blessing on that.
But that there can be both.
Yes.
You can have a faith.
You can have
Yes.
God's blessing on your relationship.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, that goes without saying. Should have said that up front.
Thank you guys so much for coming to our podcast, because I know, like, you could have been walking into the lion's den or like to like the wolves' den right now. Like, you could have felt like you were walking into something.
Not at all.
Was...
No, we've met you, Aaron. We knew you weren't.
Well, I really want to just acknowledge the apology that you've put on the table and for all of the community. So we received that, but also just to commend and thank you on behalf of us and the community for opening your heart up, being willing to be changed,
Thanks,
the
Ben.
willingness to question your own beliefs and then take an entire church on that journey.
Yeah.
Like, it's just...
And knowing
so
you
encouraging.
could face loss, and
Yeah.
and that you did face loss, you still went through with it.
And could we say on behalf of Gateway, we can't speak for all churches, but I still believe that church is the hope of the world, you know, for all of its brokenness and its bad mistakes and the way it's rejected people. When the local church is working well, there is nothing like it. So I would want to encourage all your queer gay listeners, if you've never been to a church that's healthy and welcoming, they do exist.
Yeah.
You know, so even if you've got to drive to Seaford, to Gateway, come and visit us. We would love to meet you and love you to be part of our community.
Yeah. Well, thank
God
you guys
loves
so
you.
much for jumping on.
And we'll see you.
Yeah, we're going to come.
Oh, looking forward to
We're
let
gonna
us
go.
know. I said we're taking you out for lunch.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Yeah, I love that.
Love it. Thank you so much.